Professor Wallercord, let's get it. I can't believe this is it. Last video, and I can't believe I graduate Friday, but before I graduated, I want to make sure I put a lot of effort into this video, things I've looked up, things we learned about in class, just to summarize the situation on how the US government has responded to this COVID chaos and explain what I think of these economic measures in the light of what I've learned in class this year and in the books that we read, and just biblically and ethically what actions to take through this chaos. But yeah, I want to make it a video, of course. As you can tell, I like talking and presenting more than I would writing a paper. So this 7 to 10 minute video, I'm sure more so towards 10 with how I've been in the semester and just how this COVID works. But yeah, I just want to make sure I had one last bang, one last effort, because really this thing is virus has affected us so much through life in general. So it's good for us to be educated on these topics and to help us further our votes in later elections, because we're grown up and I'm about to graduate and become an adult. So I do appreciate a final like this because it is something we should take note of. So really, to start off, there have been three major things that the government has done amidst this chaos economically uh, throughout this COVID. They've responded, in my opinion, well. And those three main things I want to allude to include the stimulus check, which is a part of the CARES Act, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then lastly, the small business paycheck, which is known as the Paycheck Protection Program. So this is something that is to help small businesses. So really, to start, the stimulus check was for a $1,200 check for everyone making under $99,000 a year. And that was sent out per person of people over 16. So then when you get to 16, under 16, the paycheck was actually $500. So I was actually one of those people that received the stimulus check as well. So it really was beneficial, and through all the darkness of these times that we've gone through, at least there's some bright spot in getting $1,200, which is for me about a month's work of work, I guess I should say. The second thing I want to touch base on, the second very important factor that the government has done amidst this chaos, is the CARES Act. So the CARES Act is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which was passed by Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support and signed into law by President Trump on March 27th, 2020. So pretty recent, just about a month ago, obviously. And this over $2 trillion economic relief package delivers on the Trump administration's commitment to protecting the American people from the public health and economic impacts of COVID-19. So the whole point of this CARES Act is to provide fast and direct economic assistance for American workers, families, small businesses, and preserve jobs for our American industries. So really, it's unemployment benefits that are increased $600 per week for 4 months. So this is a huge deal. And for anyone that applied for it, $600 a week for 4 months that President Trump signed and has given the people. So that's another brilliant situation that the government has handled very well amidst this coronavirus chaos. Lastly, what I want to touch base on is the small business paycheck. So I wrote a bunch of notes down, so I'm kind of going through notes as well. So the small business paycheck is something that unfortunately was skewed in numbers, but just to get into a little bit, it is also known as the PPP. So this is the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a loan designed to provide a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll. So the Small Business Administration will forgive loans if all employees are kept on the payroll for 8 weeks and the money is used for payroll, rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. So you can apply any existing small business administration lender or through any federally insured institution. So any credit union, other regulated lenders will be available, and you should consult with whoever your local leader is as to whether it is okay to participate in the program. So that is the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. So I went through the stimulus check first, the government has done, the CARES Act, which I went over, and the small business paycheck, which is also known as the Paycheck Protection Plan. So really it's beneficial for anyone, especially in small businesses, people unemployed, uh, through this whole chaos. And I think they've handled it, in my personal opinion, very well. And I'll get more into the light of what we've learned about in class and a biblical thing, but I do want to mention this. So, like I said about a minute ago, numbers were skewed. So, this was originally from UW, the NIH. So, unfortunately, the numbers the president received from doctors originally from the NIH were wrong. They said the coronavirus death rate was 3 to 5%, but really, after Stanford and USC had studies on it, the death rate was 0.03%. And so it was much less. And really, what that says is we do need to get back to work. We need to get back to work because America, we can't let it shut down anymore. The whole coronavirus, extremely sad, but it's also sad that we're hearing so much about the coronavirus and we don't hear about the deaths still on heart disease, which is actually more death rate, not giving more about your abuse of your physical body, the body that God gave us. And I'll get into the biblical part of it in just a second, but we don't talk about as much as that. And we don't talk about just being active as much as we should. We just talk about how all these deaths recently have come through the COVID. But a lot of it, you have to have underlying conditions as well. So it is very sad. We continue to pray for everyone that has received it. It's a very serious deal. But so are all these other underlying issues that we're not hearing about as much now. So just to get into it, what I think of economic measures in the light of what I've learned in class. At the end of the day, God is sovereign above all things, and we learned about that a lot in class. We learned about it in economics through the Rushdoony book, which talked about the economics and Satan and us being driven towards a negative power, trying to get us to just backlash and not be on the same page through the sovereign power of God. So really, when you think about it through this COVID, the relief program, everything the government is doing, as well as great things that public figures are doing as well, such as, say, Zion Williamson of the Pelicans giving out a bunch of money to workers for the Pelicans that don't have a job right now. Really, it's just us giving out charity and doing our will of God and helping out those in need for relief programs. And I think we learned a lot in class that really, if we just keep God above all things and we keep doing our ministry work, we keep donating to charities, keep donating to viruses like this. Think about like even us seniors like myself or seniors in high school that don't get to graduate, just being a positive light for them and how we can continue to just kind of go towards that light of God and through an economic and biblical manner that God is above all things, as I've mentioned, and two, we can always help those in need. We can think that we are in need, but there are so many more people below us based on wealth and money that we could really help. So really just to refer to biblical standards more so, in light of what I've learned is just continue to work hard, give back, and keep God above everything. Like if we have God as the highest power in terms of what we follow through government wise or through money, through giving back, I mean we will be fine if we continue to have that faith that everything will be okay. We continue to pray for people with these conditions. It'll be okay. I know I have 15 seconds, but just everything we learned about in class and everything we read about in Rushdoony, what I looked up economically, it's very important to continue to use that positive light and take step towards God's ultimate kingdom, which is heaven.